Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Currency Podcast, of course. Welcome on in. Don't deter yourselves. Don't prevent yourself from entering. You need to get on in here and listen to what's about to be said. It's going to be eventful, but maybe it won't be. I don't. Who knows? It's going to be. It's just going to be an hour. It's not the most necessary thing in your life, but what's going to be good is that this podcast is the best podcast for definition of currency, because I go beyond cryptocurrency. This is the best cryptocurrency podcast because you won't receive a better in-depth set of definitions about cryptocurrencies, and the depth to which that definition, the depth at which that definition is delivered is deeper than the depth that you'll find on any other YouTube currency podcast, because I'm defined by currency, and I am you couldn't deny me. Like, if I made this podcast for 10 years, that would be the same thing as me getting a PhD in currency. Basically, I'm saying if I did this podcast for 10 years, I am an authority on currency for certain, especially if I spent that time looking up cryptocurrencies and researching them and spend my time thinking about them and reading things about them. It would be like if I got a PhD and took 12 years to get a PhD in something, because we say that somebody has the authority to talk on something that they got a PhD in because of all of the time that they've spent committed to getting that PhD. And it's a matter of creating a specialized environment is like what you do when you get a PhD. Like, that's a lot of time devoted to one area, and that's a specialized environment that you are committing to, that you're like, it's specialized because the specialty in one area. And there's that way of doing things where you specialization in one area is what you're talking about, like the time you've devoted. But what I'm going to talk to you about is a real cryptocurrency. It's called Cosmos, and they refer to it as that because of the cosmological nature, I guess, or they're getting at that it is universal. Cosmos it's actually one of those cryptocurrencies for which the name applies to what it does, and some of them are like that, and maybe that's more difficult to pull off because some people make a cryptocurrency that just has a profound sounding name. Like, there's a cryptocurrency called Time, but it's like you have to do something to actually live up to that. And I'm talking about Ethereum, and Ethereum is a cryptocurrency for which the name is what it does. Ethereum aims to be the ethereal connecting force, imperceptibly uniting the entire cryptosphere. But it's really like, it can do that on some level. I don't know that it succeeds in doing that for certain, but as far as names are being applied to cryptocurrencies, Cosmos does at least just as well as Ethereum, and that, among other reasons, is why I'd say it's an underrated coin. Cosmos runs at, it's ranked maybe like 28th or so as it stands now, but I wanted to talk about it because I believe it is solidly underrated. That's one that you'd want to invest in. I didn't have any of Cosmos in the crypto portfolio video that I made for you like a week and a half ago, but I'm constantly adjusting my crypto portfolio. I will give you revised crypto portfolio videos in the future that will include, because these things keep evolving, and really I'd say that I hadn't taken inventory of my crypto portfolio enough at the time that I made that, and it's a little bit outdated, that snapshot of it. It's a good reference point, certainly, and one that you would want to look to for what's a viable cryptocurrency, because what I realized in making that video is that the percentages that I had as the highest ones are basically, that's a reflection of how I've been rewarded for my investments. So that's a good thing to look to. And what I'm saying is 39% of my portfolio is Ethereum. That's a lot of that is because that's a percentage of in US dollars, how much I have of all of those cryptocurrencies is what that was. In US dollars, what percentage I have of each one of them. And like Ethereum has blown up the most upon me investing in it, is the reason why it ends up making up so much of my portfolio, is because of how much money has been added on in the price of it going up. So it's like Binance and Ethereum are really high in my portfolio because they are because of how much the prices of those have inflated since I invested in them. It's a picture of how much I've been rewarded for my investments are the ones that I have the most of. Just so you know, but the snapshot that I gave to you of my crypto portfolio is outdated. I'm updating it and adding in some new coins. Here are some new coins that are underrated that you'll want to get in on, that are guaranteed by me. They get the me backing. I back them, and then you receive the Currency Podcast guarantee. And it's really not a guarantee because I'm not a thing, you know. Financial advisor is what I mean. I am a thing, and that's kind of that's what I'm doing here. This is like, I'm trying to be a thing, but how much of a thing? It's kind of like it factor. How much of a thing do you get to be, and like by just, and like I am the authority on currency, and how do you deny me that, in the same respect as that the more time that I devote to it is like, it makes me an authority the same way that you say somebody who has a PhD in math because they did math for 12 years is like, oh, they're definitely an authority on it. They're an authority so much they get to profess in its name. Like, if I did this long enough, you can't deny that I am the authority, because that's what I title myself as, the same way anybody arbitrarily titles himself in academia to say that that's what they are. I mean, we reward somebody, we're like, oh, you're the authority because of the time that they devoted to that special area. And I'm in currency, and that is even better than cryptocurrency, because it's like cryptocurrency is included in currency. So cryptocurrency, I'm so good at that, it's like an afterthought to me. And so you hear that on currency that Cosmos got the guarantee from Currency, that podcast, you know that is something that you can't overlook, and that's an opportunity that you can't forego in your life, because it's like, you don't want to lose your wife and kids, or you don't want to lose yourself. You have no idea what you're going to lose if you don't invest in Cosmos right now, based on that. I guaranteed it. But I'm not really guaranteeing it. I'm just saying that it is solidly underrated, and there are a number of coins that are solidly underrated that I'm going to mention to you right now, that are kind of go along, like, because my portfolio is outdated, but I'll give you an updated version of it in the future. I'm just going to let you know now. You want to invest in Cosmos. Probably the most underrated coin that I can tell you about right now is Luna, and you might have heard about it if you're into crypto, but Luna and Avalanche. But besides that, I want to talk to you about some theory that exists as a pretext to the discussion that I'm about to have, so that I'm not just telling you factoids about cryptocurrency. And let me share with you some things. There's consciousness, and consciousness is one of these things that people use as a medium to say whatever the bullshit is that they want. Like, people act like consciousness is the gateway into the future, because like a greater understanding of consciousness, it's just this term that people use for like, this is one of the biggest ideas, as if like humanity as a whole is their mindset is close to the idea of consciousness, like closer to that than any other word. And like evidence for that is the case is that lots of people on the earth that are philosophy minded keep bringing up consciousness. And this is a question that I have, or this is something I don't totally understand, is why the in-depth analysis of consciousness. Like, I would understand why people would make a huge deal of identity, but the world makes a huge deal of consciousness, like the same way I would about identity. And it's kind of like individual people, I think, are really close to one idea. And like, like maybe you could go back to one word as that word is the closest to what they're trying to communicate at any one time, and then that word or idea changes the same way that the world or individuals cycle through new ideas as they try to graduate to better things or improve themselves. But like consciousness is this thing that people think is like better, a deeper understanding of consciousness is like a more advanced state of mind. And there's like, what I think about consciousness is that it's really fact-based and it's really visible. Like what you're conscious about is what's obvious and what's evidential. And I think it goes along, the consciousness thing is inevitable, like inextricable from a really scientific point of view. And by inextricable, I mean inseparable from. Like it's inseparable from a scientific point of view is the emphasis that that philosophy minded people put on consciousness, because consciousness deals in what's evidential, and science tells you like it has to be factual and evidential in order for it to exist at all. And it's kind of this, like the world is stuck on this knowledge based environment as long as it's scientific, where where they just have a certain lack of recognition for the imperceptible. And I think what we should graduate to is a more imperceptible set of ideas. Like, and we don't do that because we don't recognize aliens, and we still criticize people who believe in ghosts to be like stupid, or people that believe in the paranormal, that they aren't dealing in fact-based things. And I think that what goes along with criticism of paranormal things, or investigating them, or saying that they're valid, acknowledging them, not being ignorant of them. Like what goes along with a world that's kind of ignorant of paranormal things, or says that ghosts aren't real and stops saying that there ever are that because there's no evidence for it, is like this idea of consciousness ruling things, or not. Like saying that it's always consciousness is like saying it's always visible. What you really want is subconsciousness, and like that is, for some reason, I think that when people say we want a deeper understanding through consciousness, what they mean is they want to get to deeper levels of subconsciousness, because subconscious things exist in the periphery. And they do, and there's the cosmos, and we don't understand the cosmos, or like universality gets put in the background as long as things have to be right, what's right in front of your face. Like surface level obvious things are shit that's documented in your finite frame of reference, what's right in front of your face. And like of course you always have to go back to what's documentable, and like what's right in front of your face is going to tell you what's reality, because that's what is knowledge to you, are like the objects around you are factually that. And like it's not really problematic to say it's conscious. Like consciousness is I think that it's just that as long as you're trying to describe what is ultimately imperceptible and subconscious as conscious, then you will have, you won't graduate to what you're trying to describe with consciousness, because people are always using consciousness to say like greater awareness of things. Like greater awareness maybe is of, you're trying to describe an imperceptible world. But so I'm criticizing that people use consciousness, but it's like, so there's Cosmos, and Cosmos is a cryptocurrency that's kind of at the world level as opposed to the national level, because these cryptocurrencies exist as these giant monolithic, they're kind of like empires, and then they have access to all this territory. But cryptocurrencies and those like the cryptosphere is this whole different world where all of a sudden there are all these different currencies that you get to choose between and choose among. And there's very many of those different ones, and it's very diversified what currencies there are and which ones you get to choose from. And this is totally different from the world that we've been living in. Like up to this point, before the emergence of cryptocurrencies, everybody in America, let's use America and Americans as an example, everybody in America is making their bank off of the US dollar, but they're basically contracted to the US dollar and they don't have access to a number of different versions of cryptocurrency to choose from. And there's a great lack of competition in the area of currency. And this is why people have difficulty jumping to cryptocurrency or saying that it is valid. They think that it isn't real, and it isn't real the same way that any money is. But it's kind of like America, for a really long time, it's able to sell everybody on that money is real because it's so singular, it's so defined to one thing that it's difficult for, I mean, that you're not able to see any competition in it, as long as everybody is within the borders of the US, and then when they go to work, they're working for the US economy and ultimately working for the US dollar. Like up until this point, before cryptocurrencies emerged, everybody is in a contract with the US dollar and they are billing them, they're for sale and bought up by the US dollar, like they're contracted to it with their working contracts with whatever company, because whatever company they're working for is ultimately contracted to the US dollar. And when they build their buildings, the materials are built on the US dollar, and the US dollar courses through the business both physically and like conceptually. And they're like, when you write a business, even when somebody creates a business, that's like writing the code and the rules of a game for a certain business and writing that business as a token or a placeholder for money getting. You write it within the bounds of the territory of the United States, and the United States offers you the ability to do this by making itself a place of currency. But it's like the United States is like a blockchain. Like Ethereum does the same thing, and Ethereum as a blockchain is like a nation and offers up all of this land and all of this space on itself. And it offers up all of this space that anybody can, that tokens, other cryptocurrencies, developers of currencies or decentralized apps can come and write their business onto the economy or onto the economy of Ethereum. But it's like Ethereum just has all of this land in this new world that exists. And it's like the whole cryptosphere is like this whole new world, and the way that a sphere is a world and the earth is a sphere. Like, so I'm saying cryptosphere is a good description for the new world that exists as a result of all these cryptocurrencies. And if it is one world, all of them exist as like nations within it. But there are certain currencies like Cosmos that exist at the world level or aim to replicate the world economy as opposed to just a national economy. And like Cosmos is an internet of blockchains, and that means that their aim and their vision is to connect all blockchains under one title, Cosmos, under themselves. So it's like the name is good because it's universal. The name is good because it's universal like that. And like cryptocurrencies that aren't just a token, like one that is a blockchain or bigger than that, an internet of blockchains. So it's like there are these levels of it where there's cryptocurrencies like Cosmos that aim to tokenize the whole world. And that is kind of what it is, and what the cryptosphere and the collection of all cryptocurrencies together, what that tokenizes basically is the world, because it has created this representative world where all of the economic practices that happen in this actual world are represented, they're tokenized in the cryptocurrency world. This is a representative digital world that exists, and what is tokenized as collective of the entire thing is the earth. And there's cryptocurrencies that go to that level of it where they want to be a connector of all of the things in the earth. And it's kind of like they are aiming to tokenize something more like the title of the world or the earth. And Cosmos is one of these. And it's grander in scope than the level of nations, which is the level I'm saying is the level of blockchains, which is like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana and Cardano. Those are all blockchains, and they kind of exist at the national level, but they offer their own property like blockchains offer their own property, but Cosmos also offers property. It just offers it as a world offering spaces within itself for any nation to come and write itself onto its code. So it's like in that respect, like the world is like that, where the world exists and then any nation can create itself arbitrarily define its borders within the world. So the world offers any nation the opportunity to buy up land on itself, and then because we have what is called the world economy, they're like the nations run on the rules of that game, which is the world. I mean, they run on the game of economics, and like economics is the name of the game as far as money exchange and transactions that happen the world over. But like a nation is, it's kind of like a nation is only possible because of the world. I'm not sure if that analogy is totally true in this case, like that there wouldn't need to be a cryptocurrency that acts as the world, but we do have those in this case, or like maybe you do need them, or maybe they just would exist anyway. But like what I would want to mention from a cryptocurrency standpoint is that that these levels is an important distinction that most people with cryptocurrency channels don't bring into the light, which they don't. This isn't mentioned a lot. The differences in categories, which like you have world level cryptocurrencies that are build themselves as an internet of blockchains that aim to connect all of the blockchains under themselves. This is the three biggest ones are Cosmos, Polkadot, and Avalanche. And the one I'm talking today about is Cosmos. But the reason I think Cosmos is underrated, basically, I would say to you that Cosmos and Avalanche are equally underrated. I couldn't say that either one of those would be better to invest in now for their capacity to blow up. But like what I'd say is that like Cosmos is underrated, Avalanche is underrated, but these are all three of those, Cosmos, Avalanche, and Polkadot, are Internet of Blockchains cryptocurrencies, and the worst one of those is Polkadot. The like Avalanche is the fastest of the three of those. Avalanche is like the Solana of Internet of Blockchains cryptocurrencies, because Solana is currently billed as the fastest blockchain among blockchains that we know. But like there's Cosmos, and then there's Avalanche, and there's Polkadot, and pretty much Avalanche is the fastest one. Cosmos is what Cosmos is a internet of blockchains. It's not the fastest, but the reason that I like it is that the blockchains that are already written onto it are big projects that people know about, and there aren't any blockchains that are written onto either Polkadot or Avalanche, them being internet of blockchains that are attracting as many blockchains as possible to themselves. But like Polkadot actually limits the number of blockchains. Like Polkadot has this, as it stands now, a finite set of blockchains that can write themselves onto its network. Like it's kind of like Bitcoin, where Bitcoin has a limited supply, so it aims for rarity as opposed to prolificity in its supply. But then you have like Dogecoin, and Dogecoin is unlimited supply. Cosmos is an unlimited supply for blockchains, like whole blockchains that can be written onto its network, is what it aims to do with the code that it wrote and the rules of the game that it created. Polkadot actually only allows for a limited number of blockchains and it sells the property off to the highest bidder. So it's like it has 100 spaces or so that any blockchain can come along and write itself onto its network. But like this Polkadot, I like Cosmos a lot better than Polkadot because, and like Polkadot is actually ranked higher, and this is one of the reasons why Polkadot is ranked higher than both Avalanche and Cosmos, and this is one of the reasons why you'd want to invest in both of those, is because their known competition is Polkadot. The problem is that people haven't realized that Polkadot is the competitor to Cosmos and Avalanche. They think that Polkadot is the competitor to Cardano, and they are wrong because Cardano is a blockchain. Polkadot is an internet of blockchains. Because people think that Polkadot and Cardano are like two of the biggest competitors to Ethereum. That's not true. People just haven't identified what Polkadot is yet, and that's the reason why it's in the top 10. It's like number 8. But there are internet of blockchains that are better than it. Both Avalanche and Cosmos are better. And when people realize that these are in the same bracket, Polkadot, Avalanche, and Cosmos, they will start to devalue Polkadot as it stands now, and then and Cosmos and Avalanche will increase. But I'd say that Avalanche has as good a shot of increasing as Cosmos does, because it's actually the fastest of the internet of blockchains. But like, those three are in direct competition is something that I'd want to define for you, that they exist at this different level than blockchains, and tokens exist at a different level than both of those. Like, if it's just a token, it's at a even lower level than blockchains. It's like at the city or the state level, where a city or a state has the opportunity to buy up property on, like when they made North Dakota, then North Dakota utilized property within the United States and then runs itself on the US dollar thereafter. But it's like North Dakota has its own economy, and it's like a tokenized entity that exists to that money can be created within its borders, and there is an economy for every state. But like, a state is like a token, a nation is like a blockchain, and then the world is like the internet of blockchains. And that analogy is pretty, like, that's pretty accurate. But like, the reason that Cosmos is better than anything else, the reason that Cosmos is better is because because it aims to have a bunch of blockchains written onto it. The blockchains that are already on Cosmos are crypto.com, that's a whole blockchain, and the exchange for crypto.com is written on that blockchain. That blockchain is on Cosmos. The Binance chain is on Cosmos. Binance is the third biggest crypto in the world. The Binance chain is written onto Cosmos. There's a different Binance chain called the Binance Smart Chain, and that is its own blockchain capable of having contracts written onto it. That's different from the Binance chain. The Binance coin, the Binance cryptocurrency, is composed of two chains, which are the Binance chain and the Binance Smart Chain. The Binance chain is on Cosmos. The Binance Smart Chain is not on Cosmos, but it does that because Binance has a lot of utility and a lot of capability. It diversifies. It's a different ability to do things. Basically, here's the thing about Binance is that the Binance chain is written on Cosmos, but that is a blockchain that's like Bitcoin, where it is only good for transactions and is not good for contracts being written onto it. Binance then created the Binance Smart Chain, which is like Ethereum, where contracts can be written onto it. So Binance actually exists as a dual composition of a blockchain that is like Bitcoin and another blockchain that is like Ethereum, because the Ethereum blockchain can have tokens written onto it and the Bitcoin blockchain cannot. So Binance is composed of these two pillars primarily, but the Binance chain that is like Bitcoin, that is all on Cosmos. And so it's like the territory that Cosmos provides by being responsible as a internet of blockchains. Some of the territory that's already been bought up on itself is the Binance chain. And so they offer is what Cosmos, the blockchains already on Cosmos are crypto.com. That's already a big one. That's already the 14th biggest cryptocurrency in the world. The third biggest cryptocurrency in the world. Half of it is written onto Cosmos. They also have KuCoin. KuCoin is the 83rd biggest crypto in the world. KuCoin as a whole blockchain is written onto Cosmos. I'm telling you, Cosmos is really solidly underrated. Polkadot and Avalanche don't have... Polkadot and Avalanche don't have any major chains like they have one or two, but I'm not really excited about any of them, and they don't have any giant exchanges like crypto.com or KuCoin on them. Cosmos by far has the best projects of any of these Internet of Blockchains for blockchains being written onto them. And it also has Luna, and Luna is a good one to invest in for right now. I'd say that's one of the most underrated, like that you might in the short term make a lot of money off of. Luna is a blockchain. Luna is a token, but it's on a blockchain called Terraform, and Terraform is written on Cosmos. So, and Luna is like the 14th biggest crypto in the world. So there's a lot of major blockchains that have already bought up their space on the Cosmos Internet of Blockchains network, and Cosmos seeks to make their entire system interoperable into the future. All of these cryptocurrencies haven't accomplished, like they all have a vision set out for themselves, and then like they have all these steps that are going to happen. Like in a year this protocol will be released, and that will be in the direction of what we want to accomplish ultimately. So it's like Cosmos and Polkadot and Avalanche are all they're all like a vision for a future where all of the blockchains can communicate with each other. And that's what they're trying to do, is create like a universal communication among the blockchains, because the problem is that you have one blockchain and that's written on a certain code, and then another blockchain is created written on a different code, and those two codes can't communicate with each other. But what Cosmos seeks to do is allow all blockchains to communicate with each other on a system. That's the technology that it aims to provide. It's already like developed that technology to some degree, and I would say that based on that, the best developers have that put themselves on an Internet of Blockchains are on Cosmos. That Cosmos's technology is decidedly the best among technologies that aim to create a communication between all different blockchains. But obviously that's like a major concept. Like it's the same way that General Electric kind of owns everything. Like they own MSNBC and stuff like that, like way high up where you don't even recognize who's owning everything, is as far up as this like a Cosmos technology is. Like it seeks to own everything. So that's obviously a really ambitious project. Like Cosmos is underrated. I don't know how underrated it is. It might be vastly underrated if it's the case that people eventually perceive Internet of Blockchains to be the best and the most valuable form of cryptocurrency, which might be the case. It might just be the case that, as far as anybody can perceive right now, is just at the level of blockchain, and then in the future they'll perceive at the level of Internet of Blockchains and find those more valuable. It's just that as it stands now, perception of Internet of Blockchains is not very high and not high resolution. And you know that's the case because Polkadot is ranked number 8 and people think that it's a blockchain. Another reason I don't like Polkadot, because Polkadot is like, it's kind of weird. They act like a centralized government. But what I wanted to talk about with the United States, at like the United States economy as an example, the US and Americans, is that cryptocurrencies as a whole, they decentralize a number of things. They decentralize banks, they decentralize like governments, but they also decentralize the contractual relationship that, for example, that all Americans have to where they work, and the contract that all Americans have to the US dollar, that is the currency that they always receive. This is a monopolized environment that doesn't allow for competition across currencies, and that's why when cryptocurrency as a whole field emerges, people don't really understand that you're allowed competition among currencies because they've been living their whole lives subject to one of them. And what cryptocurrencies, they decentralize the contract that all Americans have to the US dollar by now all of a sudden providing everybody the freedom of being contracted to many different currencies. But this is the future that cryptocurrency presents, is this like endless tokenization of very minute things, like a greater amount of minutia of tokenized instances, like very disintegrated value that is, value that is more granular and particulated and exists in every place. But like I'm talking about, the cryptocurrency world offers a decentralized, like this much greater ability to represent yourself and granulated representation where everything possibly is tradable and every tiny specified thing has value. Like this is the world that many different currencies is articulating, and what it's pointing towards is a world where value is not going to be amassed anymore, because the reason why there's like financial inequality and people amassing so much of one currency is because of these monopolized currencies and a very finite set of currencies that are holed up in countries and nations, where the whole nation gets to dictate what a currency is. And it's like cryptocurrencies decentralize currency, decentralize a number of things, but they decentralize currency itself and they decentralize contracts itself, because like when you go to work, you're under contract for the US dollar and that's what you receive in return. But with the emergence of very many different cryptocurrencies, you and a lot of them being decentralized apps, what you have the opportunity to do by investing in all of these is contracting yourself to lots of different nations, where all that anybody knows is contracting yourself to one to this point. But now you have freedom, and it's the same thing as like everybody in the future now has much greater freedom of representation, whether they wanted it or not. But it's like a world where worth is utilitarian, as opposed to that it plays out in specialized environments like the United States, where the United States is very specialized in its interpretation of currency, because it says that currency is always this one. The US dollar is very specialized, unique. Like when it's one thing, when it's singular like that, they're saying that currency is always this one thing. But now you have the option for many different currencies, and it's like in the world, when there is very many more decentralized apps, like all of the apps will be decentralized ones, because that is a better form of using applications, or applications that aren't centered in a corporation that's able to change the rules of those. But yeah, in the world where everybody is using decentralized apps, what you do by downloading a decentralized app is you download the contract that was written, because the contract is the code that sets the rules of the game. The contract is the currency, the computer code is the currency, and what you download is the code for that when you use a decentralized app. It's the same way when you use centralized apps now, but so in a sense, everybody has kind of like through your phone is the introduction of this world where everybody has the opportunity to contract themselves to different things. And really, like, what you contract yourself to is just kind of like the amount of time that you're spending in one area or doing one activity, and whatever that activity is named is what you're under contract to, if you want to look at it that way. And like the greater variety of activities that you do, and things that you learn, and things that you allow yourself to do, and places that you allow yourself to go, is the capacity for contracting yourself to many different times and activities. It's like each activity is a different time that you're spending doing that, and it's like the amount of time that you spend doing it is like, if you spend a lot of time in one area, then you're specializing your interests. And this is closer to the way that currency itself plays out in the world currently, when it's all up to the dictation of national governments, is that people are in the business of amassing a lot of the US dollar, because everybody is under, like in the United States, and you're bound to this territory. Everybody here is contracted to that, so that is by far the thing that the currency you want to get the most of. Where it's like, but it's kind of like with the emergence of cryptocurrency, it is making currency out of all of these activities that you do that aren't like you doing it in exchange for US dollars. What's happening is all of those activities are being monetized, like currency is being created out of apps. Like cryptocurrencies are applications that the company that made them is just like currency or is a stock that you are investing in at the point that you're using it. Like that's the technology that's been given to everybody, is that it's like the time that you're spending is now monetized as long as you're willing to put some, like you can just put your money into it as reflection of that you're spending your time doing it. It's kind of like money and time just completely intertwined with the emergence of many different cryptocurrencies, like the competition among all of them, because the competition, now that there is a world of competition for currency, there are now thousands of them as opposed to there are just like 250 current national currencies. Now there are thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies because it has been made accessible that you can write a currency. Like now that this technology exists, it makes it so that anybody can write a currency, and so like it gets really specific what you're able to monetize to the point that like anybody wanting to represent themselves any certain way will be able to access the time that they spend doing that, or like the amount that they're tied to it themselves, like they're able to monetize that or say that the time that they're spending is actually money, more so because there will be so many cryptocurrencies. The openness of competition for it allows for anybody to make money off of anything that anybody finds valuable, down to the most particulated instances. And what I'm talking about is like trading cards. In the future, it might be the case that there might be a greater percentage of card shops as what is left of physical businesses, because there will be demand for card shops, because everything is maybe going to be more cardified, where you have a tradable value for any dumb thing that any person finds valuable. All of it is turning into currency. It's like the technology of cryptocurrency allows for whatever you're spending your time on to now be called money and to be exchanged as if it is money. The more that this happens, the more that currency itself is decentralized. Many different cryptocurrencies, as it stands, many different particulated instances of currency, already articulates the decentralization of currency. This will only continue more and more. But what I'm saying is, what's profound about it, the end result is is that all activities will just be money, but it'll just be like a world where money is an afterthought, or it's kind of behind us. But everything will be like tradable. Everything is turning into a card, but it's kind of like that's a really deep level of disintegration of currency. That's a deep level of decentralization, is the point at which everything is reduced to a card. And like there's card, like things that are cards usually have a good future anyway. It's like Pokemon is all about trading cards, and that's always big, and people always like that. And Magic the Gathering has a really bright future, I would say. And Magic the Gathering is a game about collecting cards that you introduce into the game as a different scenario, because every card in Magic the Gathering that you play is a different like spell. Basically, it's a different set of rules that you introduce into the game. But it's kind of like that, where everything that has its own set of rules, everything that is a game, but like you write a contract, you write a token, this is a set of rules. But everything that is a game, everything that people spend their time on in their free time, like things that you spend your free time on that you wouldn't refer to as like this is a contractual relationship, all of that will be monetized, so that things will be more fun, so that the things that you like are monetized. So like what I'm saying is, you're contracted to the things that you like because you spend time doing them, and it's like you're under contract for it. It's like you wouldn't have to, like, contract brings upon itself a lot of negative connotations, but it's actually the case that contract can be seen positively, and it's like all of the things that you spend a lot of time on that are positive for you, rather than when you work, that's a lot of time that you spend towards something negative. And it's representative of how unnaturally the U.S. government has spoken to everybody that they own currency, where currency is an unownable commodity, basically. But the U.S., as long as it takes responsibility for being this major player in the world economy, and as long as the world economy is the rules and like the economics is the name of the game, and as long as like economics is the name of the game, then the world economy comes along and all of the nations have to compete as nations because the world dictates a certain thing about nations and how important it is to be a nation. And so like part of the reason why everybody has to get money in this way that is negative, like everybody has to work and do things that they don't like in order to get it, is because of the monopolization over currency. And I would argue this is an unnatural explanation of currency, because currency is meant to be everywhere, and it's just that the open competition allows for the true nature of currency to emerge, and that's what is happening. That's what's happening, is a greater decentralization. But you get Cosmos, and Cosmos aims to be a universal, like, and it's not the case that every cryptocurrency is totally decentralized. And I made the point before that it's like every cryptocurrency that people say is decentralized is actually relatively centralized. But there are some that exist as like their business model is already more centralized, and Polkadot is one of these. And the reason why is, so like Polkadot is number 8 and Cosmos is number 28, and the reason why you'd want to invest in either Cosmos or Avalanche, and Avalanche is like number 12, is because they have a noted advantage over Polkadot. That noted advantage is that they are more decentralized in nature and according to their business models. And really a lot of what moves a cryptocurrency up the rankings is when people on a mainstream level finally understand a noted advantage. And this is a noted advantage I'm exploiting to you that people don't know about because they don't recognize competition correctly. They don't recognize that Polkadot, Avalanche, and Cosmos are direct competitors with each other. So that doesn't bring them to this point to analyze and compare Cosmos against Polkadot. But basically, Cosmos is better than Polkadot because Cosmos allows all of the blockchains that are written onto itself. It grants them independence over themselves, but it's like there's sort of drawbacks to that, you might say, because of certain reasons. But basically, Cosmos allows the blockchains written onto it independence over themselves. It allows them to set their own rules and provide their own security. Polkadot is more paranoid about whatever blockchains are written onto itself because it wants to act like a centralized government. And there are cryptocurrencies like this that their business model is to act like a centralized government. And you want to watch out for those because the entire value of cryptocurrencies is like the greatest level of decentralization possible, or that they don't act like a centralized government. But Polkadot aims to have central power over the blockchains that are written onto its internet of blockchains, basically. And Cosmos is the opposite of that. It allows independence of the blockchains written onto itself because Polkadot is paranoid about security, and Polkadot as an entire system wants to decide security for all of its blockchains. Cosmos allows the blockchains written onto it to decide their own security and bring their own validators to the network. And it's like Cosmos allows for competition in the area of security because it allows the blockchain written onto its network to outsource its security to a reputable source, because there's these companies that exist that aren't cryptocurrencies that exist just to provide security to the internet, to provide security to cryptocurrencies in these areas. And so like based on how good of a reputation these outside companies are for providing security is what's going to determine whether or not you transact with that cryptocurrency, is something that Cosmos understands. Like Cosmos allows a blockchain to use whatever source for security that it wants, and like that blockchain would do better to use a security that has a better reputation, because that will ultimately get it more money, because people will trust that source more to transact with it. But Polkadot doesn't allow this competition, doesn't allow a blockchain to choose its security. Polkadot is like, we decide the rules of, and that's like the program that's been written for Polkadot is, we decide the rules for all the security. They want centralized security, essentially, and they want to act like a national government over the blockchains. And so I don't understand why Polkadot is number 8. I think it's literally just people don't understand that this is true about it. There's a lot of misunderstanding about Polkadot. They just know that it is this, maybe they know that it's the internet of blockchain, so it does something different. They haven't come to recognize that there are competitors in this area, and that Cosmos is one of them, because I didn't understand that about Cosmos until a couple days ago. And I have invested in Cosmos, even though my crypto portfolio snapshot didn't have that. I have invested in Cosmos, but like there's, it's like consciousness, there's like people don't like people don't approach aliens the right way. I don't think they don't approach aliens the right way, where they say that, well, there isn't any evidence for it for sure, but in reality you're just being ignorant of the evidence that there is. If you're saying there's never been any evidence, because there's nothing but there's eyewitness accounts of it for like at least a couple centuries all over the earth of UFOs, and there's eyewitness accounts of UFOs and of people being abducted. There's all these stories of it from the US government and like Air Force pilots and whoever. And it's like, I mean, it's some sort of, I'd say that consciousness is related. It's like, as long as you're whatever you're conscious and whatever you're aware of, it's not telling you that for sure factually there's this evidence of aliens. But it's kind of like all of the firsthand accounts exist more in the periphery. And it's the same with ghosts, that there's like accounts of ghosts all over the world for centuries, all over the place. And people, whatever the thing is that people are seeing, they're calling it ghosts. It's the same with aliens. Whatever is the thing that people have all these accounts of, they're calling it aliens, and this won't go away. And it doesn't pay to be ignorant about this whole group of people that say that this phenomenon is happening. It doesn't pay to keep ignoring that, because this will keep happening into the future, that people keep referring to this set of activities as ghost. And you saying that that isn't real is like saying that the word isn't real. Like, it's impossible to say that everybody is saying nonsense. Like, in reality, people are referring to ghosts as something, and that's why we have the word. It's just that we don't understand the depth of it. And like consciousness, maybe it's more of a subconsciousness that that allows you to be more universal. Like consciousness is not as universal, it's more a finite frame of reference, because your finite frame of reference is what allows you to see all the obviously documented things, and like shit that happens, just like saying that life isn't more than the day-to-day, just like what you see. This is based on a finite frame of reference. A more into the cosmos, or a more like transcendent point of view allows you to access anything that exists in the periphery, or it allows you to access the imperceptible world. Like, so Cosmos calls itself that to be in like, that's a good idea, because there's name bias that exists for cryptocurrencies, where it's like you wouldn't buy one just because of the name, or you don't like how the name is tied to what they're doing. And so it's interesting when there are cryptocurrencies that their name is exactly what they're doing, and also they were successful at doing that. The only two I can think of are Ethereum and Cosmos. But Cosmos aims to be like at the world level, like tokenize things at that level. And so I'm just telling you, it's like solidly underrated. And they're when it comes to aliens, that it's interesting. It's just interesting that when everybody has accounts of it, you're still not allowed to say that there's evidence, but it's like what evidence somebody capturing an alien, like the government might have done that a number of times, like, and they probably did, and there are accounts of that government captured an alien in one of their bases, like at Area 51, and accounts of people seeing that. And to say that there still is no evidence of it is kind of like what you're supposed to say. It's just that, like, maybe people should just accept that they're already here, and that's a greater level of consciousness at that point. It's mm, it's just that is there a point where we're not concerned about that it's consciousness, or that like we live so much in the, like, do we need to live a lot in the peripheral world in order to make advances necessary? But like it's kind of like the world is moving so quickly in terms of technology that there are large sectors of the world that, as far as I know, they are in the periphery because I don't understand the knowledge that they have come up with. And like there's large sectors of the world that are more intelligent, and it's a matter of intelligence and how intelligent you are, because like you're um but there's not really a point that I'm making. I just wanted to say that Cosmos is solidly underrated, and that's a good one to invest in, especially because it has noted advantages over Polkadot, and is and I want to bring that to light about the categories, because there's blockchains like Ethereum and Solana and Cardano, but then there's tokens like Decentraland as a token that's written onto Ethereum. Like there's a level of tokens, and that's a whole different level. That's kind of like a shop, like Forever 21, or a store. That's like the surface level authority, the one that is right where you are. Like it's like the city level, like police level of governing, as opposed to like a national level of governing, which would be more like Ethereum. Like Decentraland is a token, and that's kind of more like, as far as the economy is concerned, it's just one of the shops that is like right in front of you to transact with, but it's like that shop is written onto the US economy, and the US economy is its own product, essentially, that's just written onto the world economy. And so what's interesting to see is if this, like a cryptocurrency that is at the scope of the whole world, like on the surface, you would think that that would end up being the most valuable, because it's also aiming to incorporate Ethereum and Bitcoin, and it will eventually make some version of Bitcoin and Ethereum tradable on its network. And so if that's the case, if it can do everything Ethereum can do, like if it can both trade Ethereum and then all of the tokens that are written onto Ethereum, and then all of that is under the name Cosmos, then obviously Cosmos is like the most underrated thing to look at. I just don't know if the perception will change, that people will really ever care about the Internet of Blockchains level in the same way that like a General Electric that owns all of these media companies, it's never really, most people would never know that General Electric owns all of it, but General Electric probably still has the most money out of anybody for owning all of that bullshit. But like but cryptocurrency and whether or not they're successful is based a lot on visibility, and currently the blockchain level is what's visible among levels, either like token versus blockchain versus Internet of Blockchain levels. The most visible and understood level is the level of the blockchain. That's what gets all the press. And so Ethereum is the biggest name in that category, in the most visible category, and it is that because it has the most tokens written onto itself at this point. Polkadot actually has the most blockchains of any of those three that I said. Polkadot has the most chains written onto it. It's just that all of their chains are not projects I'm excited about, and it has far fewer in the top 100. I don't know. I haven't even heard about the blockchains that are on Polkadot. Cosmos has a lot that are already big and that a lot of people have already heard of. And so, thanks. I'll put out more episodes in the future. Thanks for listening. This is the number one in terms of definition for cryptocurrency podcast that you'll find on YouTube. I exploit the categories that need to be exploited and tell you what coins need to be noticed as underrated so that you can make billions of dollars or something. So you'll be a billionaire if you listen to me, obviously. And so there's no questioning that. That's a guarantee. And talk to you all later.